When I first walked into the headquarters of Pulsewave Dynamics, I thought I had found my forever home. The office gleamed with glass walls, sleek desks, bright lights, and that electric hum you only feel in places where big things are about to happen. Everyone talked fast, moved faster, and acted like they were building the future. It was exciting, overwhelming, and exactly what I had dreamed about during my years in business school. I was 24, fresh out of college, armed with a degree, big dreams, and a work ethic that I thought could move mountains. I didn't want just a paycheck. I wanted a purpose. I wanted to build something that mattered. Pulsewave was supposed to be the place where that would happen. The company wasn't a giant like Titan Tech or Macrosoft yet, but it was buzzing, and every startup blog said Pulsewave was one of the companies to watch. Investors were throwing money at them, and the leadership team promised growth, opportunity, and if you worked hard enough, life-changing stock options. From my first day, I threw myself into the job. I stayed late. I volunteered for extra projects. I asked questions in meetings when everyone else sat silently. I said yes to every opportunity, no matter how exhausting. I wanted to stand out, and it worked, because about a month into my time at Pulsewave, the CEO himself, Evan Grant, noticed me. Evan was the kind of person you couldn't ignore. He wasn't loud or flashy. In fact, he was quiet. But when he entered a room, the energy shifted. He wore hoodies and sneakers instead of suits. But he had that spark in his eye, that sense that he knew something you didn't. People listened when Evan spoke. And now, Evan was speaking to me. He found me one evening, hunched over a stack of reports I wasn't technically responsible for. "You're new, right?" he asked, pausing by my desk. "Yes, sir," I said, probably sounding way too eager. He smiled. "Good. Hungry. We need people like that." The next day, I got an email from Evan's assistant, inviting me to a special project meeting with Evan directly. I thought my heart would explode out of my chest. The meeting was short, but life-changing. Evan laid it out simply. "We're working on something that could change the whole industry," he said, leaning across the table. "It's confidential, it's risky, and it needs people who can think bigger." He handed me a slim folder, marked confidential. Inside was the skeleton of an idea, a platform that would streamline logistics for small businesses in ways no one had tackled before. It was brilliant. It was messy. It needed work. And Evan wanted me on it. "I don't want committees. I don't want red tape," he said. "I need someone who will just make it happen." I agreed immediately. No discussion, no hesitation, because in my mind, this was it, my golden ticket, my chance to move fast, rise quickly, and prove that I wasn't just another replaceable employee. What followed was a blur of work like I had never experienced before. Early mornings, late nights, weekend sprints. Sleep became optional. Coffee became mandatory. I lived, breathed, and dreamed about that project. While my friends were out living their lives, I was hunched over my laptop, hammering out business models, user flows, customer segmentation strategies. Every few days, Evan would check in. He kept it casual, friendly, supportive. "You're doing great," he would say. "Stay focused. Big things are coming." And I believed him. I didn't just want his approval, I needed it. At first, it didn't even feel like work. It felt like a mission. Every milestone felt like another step towards something bigger. Every all-nighter felt like a sacrifice that would be worth it. I ignored the whispers from coworkers, the jokes about Evan's pets burning out, the quiet warnings that promises don't mean much around here. I told myself they were just jealous, bitter, lazy. I was different. I was special. Or so I thought. As the weeks stretched into months, the pressure grew. Evan's expectations climbed higher. The scope of the project doubled, then tripled. I wasn't just building a pitch deck anymore. I was designing workflows, drafting potential marketing strategies, outlining rollout phases, analyzing potential legal risks. And the craziest part? I loved it, even as my eyes stung from staring at spreadsheets at 3 a.m, even as my body ached from sitting for hours without moving, even as my friends stopped inviting me to things because they knew I would just say no. I kept pushing. Because in the back of my mind, there was a vision of Evan calling me into his office, shaking my hand, telling me I was ready for my own team, my own department, maybe even a VP title someday soon. I could taste it. I could feel it in my bones. But reality had other plans. It started small, little cracks, little things I tried to ignore. Like when Evan presented a progress update to the executive team using slides that I had built entirely, and never once mentioned my name. Like when other team leads started dropping by my desk to ask about that new initiative Evan's leading, the one I had been killing myself to create. At first, I told myself it was just politics, that Evan was protecting me, that when the time was right, he would give me the credit I deserved. I believed that for a while. Until the night I overheard the conversation that changed everything. It was late. So late that the cleaning crew had already finished and gone home. I was gathering my things when I heard laughter from the executive conference room down the hall. Curious, and maybe a little lonely, I wandered closer. The glass walls let me see everything. Inside, Evan was sitting with 2 senior VPs, laughing over glasses of scotch, and that's when I heard it. One of the VPs, shaking his head, said, "I can't believe the kid's still grinding. Think he realizes he's not getting anything out of this?" Evan chuckled. "Does it matter? She's cheap labor. If she burns out before launch, we'll just find another one. Fresh grads are a dime a dozen." The words hit me like a slap. The room blurred. For a moment, I thought I was going to be sick. All the hours, all the missed moments with friends and family, all the dreams I had built around the idea that hard work mattered. It had all been a lie. To them, I wasn't a rising star. I was just another pawn, disposable, replaceable, nothing. I walked home that night under a black sky that felt heavier than any weight I had ever carried. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I just sat there, staring at the ceiling, feeling something inside me break. And then something new started to grow in its place. Not sadness, not despair, resolve. If they wanted a pawn, they had picked the wrong person. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to storm into Evan's office and quit dramatically. No. I was going to be smart, careful, patient, and when the time came, I was going to tear everything they had built down around them. The next morning, I came into the office smiling like nothing had changed. I still pulled long hours. I still answered emails immediately. I still played the part of the loyal, eager junior associate, but inside, I was taking notes, careful notes. I started building a timeline. Every project I had touched, every report, every slide deck, every late night Slack message where Evan had directed me to hide the work from the rest of the teams. I backed up emails. I made copies of files. I archived voice memos. I started using my phone to discreetly record some of our one-on-one conversations. Not for blackmail, not for leverage, for evidence. At the same time, I started asking quiet questions, nothing obvious. Just casual chats with people from finance, compliance, procurement. And what I learned made my blood run cold. Evan wasn't just exploiting junior employees like me. He was using company resources to build a side project, a startup that competed directly with PulseWave's core services. He was using PulseWave's talent, time, and even vendor relationships to quietly funnel deals to his own private company behind the scenes. And the kicker? Some of the consulting fees PulseWave had been paying for outside services, they were being routed straight into shell companies owned by Evan's brother-in-law. It was corporate fraud 101. Greedy, lazy, sloppy. And now I had the receipts. The hardest part was pretending nothing had changed. Smiling when Evan walked by, nodding eagerly during meetings, answering emails within 5 minutes to keep up the illusion. Inside, I was boiling, but I knew I couldn't afford a single mistake. The trap needed to be perfect, because when it sprang shut, I didn't want Evan to have a single excuse, a single escape route. I wanted everything he had built to collapse on top of him. And I wanted to be standing far away, watching it burn. By the time the product was ready to launch, I had compiled a file so detailed it could have launched 3 different investigations. Project timelines, source files with my name embedded in the metadata, financial irregularities, suspicious consulting invoices, company communications directing me to keep leadership out of the loop, audio clips of Evan bragging about how easy it was to use corporate cash to build your future if you knew how to play the game. It was all there, neatly organized, easily digestible, devastating. Now, all I needed was the right moment to drop the bomb, and PulseWave's highly anticipated company-wide launch party, the one the investors, the board, and the press were all attending. It was perfect. The night of the launch party, PulseWave spared no expense. The event was held in a luxury downtown hotel ballroom. Spotlights lit up the night sky. Photographers snapped pictures of smiling executives. Waiters drifted through the crowd with champagne and trays of miniature lobster rolls. It was supposed to be the night Evan cemented his legacy. The night he showed the world and the investors that PulseWave was unstoppable. It was the night Evan would announce the upcoming IPO. And it was the night I chose to destroy him. I didn't show up in a fancy suit. I wore a simple black outfit, blending in with the junior staff and marketing interns. No one paid attention to me. No one noticed the small envelope I slipped into the hands of the head of internal audit, or the identical one handed off to the most respected member of the board. Inside each envelope, a thumb drive, and on each drive, the full package, the emails, the financial reports, the audio clips, the timeline showing how Evan had been siphoning resources from PulseWave to build his side business, all while publicly proclaiming loyalty to the company he was gutting from the inside out. At first, nothing happened. Evan took the stage, grinning like a king. He gave a speech about teamwork, about vision, about sacrifice. He thanked the executive team. He thanked the board. He thanked the employees, the real heroes, he called them. He never mentioned me, of course. That stung more than I wanted to admit, but it didn't matter, because even as Evan was talking about honor and loyalty, I saw the head of audit checking his phone. I saw a board member whispering urgently to another, and I smiled. The fallout wasn't immediate. These things never are. But the next morning, Evan didn't show up for the all-hands meeting he had scheduled. Rumors started flying. An emergency board session was called that afternoon. By the end of the week, PulseWave's website had quietly removed Evan's name from the leadership page. The press releases said he was stepping down to pursue new opportunities. But the leaks to the media, anonymous of course, told a different story. Tech blogs exploded with headlines that PulseWave CEO accused of corporate fraud. Insider confirms CEO built rival startup using company funds. IPO dreams crushed amidst scandal. PulseWave stock options became worthless overnight. Several major clients pulled out of contracts. Layoffs started within a month. By the end of the year, PulseWave was a shell of itself, acquired by a competitor for a fraction of its previous valuation. And Evan, the last I heard, he was consulting for startups nobody had ever heard of. Scraping by, begging for meetings that never materialized. The big tech players, the ones who had once taken his calls instantly, now ghosted him. His LinkedIn page went from full of humble brags and motivational quotes to suspicious silence. His golden future was gone, burned to ashes. I didn't stay at PulseWave long after the collapse. I had no reason to. The company I had once loved was gone, hollowed out by greed, but I didn't leave empty-handed. Before everything fell apart, I had quietly built connections, real ones, people who had seen my work ethic, people who had heard the whispers about who had really built the platform Pulsewave tried to launch. When recruiters came knocking, I was ready. I landed at a competitor. Better pay, real support, real opportunity, not just empty promises whispered in late-night conference rooms. It felt strange at first, like stepping out into the sunlight after months underground. I had scars, invisible ones, a lingering distrust, a wariness around smiling executives and cheerful team spirit speeches. But I also had strength, a toughness I hadn't known was inside me. Because the truth was, Pulsewave had taught me more than any college class ever could. Not about logistics, not about marketing strategies, about survival, about reading people's real intentions behind their words, about how loyalty, when given blindly, is just another weakness to be exploited. Sometimes I still think about Evan. I wonder if he ever realized who set the fire that burned down his empire. I doubt it. People like him never think it's the people they step on that bring them down. They expect competition from the outside. They never expect the quiet kid sitting at the corner desk, the one they thought was harmless, to be the one holding the match. If there's one thing I learned from all of it, it's this: never confuse kindness for weakness, never confuse loyalty for stupidity, and never, ever mistake silence for surrender. Because sometimes the quietest people are the ones you should fear the most. They're the ones who see everything, who remember every slight, who bide their time, and when they strike, they don't miss, they destroy.